The opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official positions of the sponsors, advertisers, or presenters. Advertising does not imply endorsement by the hosts, guests, and presenters.
It's this weird new AI technology that discriminates against people with sound and light if it doesn't like the cut of their jib. Like, basically, that's what it is, right? If it doesn't like the cut of their jib.
On behalf of the long-haired freaky people, I would like to apply.
That's hilarious. So we don't like the cut of your jib, so we're going to hit you with loud 80s rock music, or, we're going to blast them with Wagner or something, and we're going to pulse blue lights at you. That's really awful. Welcome back to the Restoring Darkness podcast. My name is Michael Colligan. I'm the host, and I'm with two other people that are very involved in this movement. Mark Baker of Soft Lights Foundation, and Scott Wachter, the publisher, I don't know what you would call yourself, the producer, whatever it is, of the Darkness News Update. He goes through all the news surrounding light pollution, night preservation, darkness restoration around the world in English, and he puts it into one brief. And so we're going to talk to them in about 1 minute. But before we do, listen, induction lighting is a thing. It's a real thing. They make induction lighting fixtures. They can be very warm. They can be down to 1800 Kelvin. And they have a lot of the characteristics that LED lights have without the good characteristics of LED, long life, energy efficiency, but without some of the bad sides of LED. So we want you to go to Tesla Induction Lighting Co. Is that right? Tesla Lighting Co. TeslaLightingCo.com. Go to TeslaLightingCo.com. Check them out for your next application. If you're a specifier, if you're an engineer, if you're someone working on a situation where there's some problems with the LED lights or you need another solution, consider induction. That's all we're saying. Think about it. It's another option in the market. Go to TeslaLightingCo.com. Welcome to the show, Scott Wachter and Mark Baker. How you guys doing?
I mean, it's been a busy couple weeks.
It has been a busy couple weeks, Mark Baker. Nail's been pretty active in the news. What do you think, Mark?
I saw Nailed in the news, and it was great. And so I appreciate the work you're doing. It's exciting for us to watch what's going on.
Well, we got a little to close down all the other stuff on your computer there, Mark, before we go to the Soft Lights update, because you cracked out a little bit. But Scott Wachter, before we get to the Soft Lights update, what's up with the Darkness News update? What are you working on these days?
I mean, it is, again, it's seasonal work in a weird sort of way, because we are just coming out of the peak of fall migration season, which meant we had a lot of activism from the bird people who are great allies for what we do, but they were definitely talking about instituting lighting controls and dimming protocols and other awareness programs as birds fly south for the winter. We are also approaching a major meteor shower, which means we get all the hobby astronomers talking about where to travel and where to see a few thousand meteor streaks in a single night. And on the space junk front of things, Starlink just launched its 10,000th piece of garbage into low orbit. At the same time, in the space junk front, a untracked or badly tracked Chinese rocket crashed in the middle of Australia. Just a big old pile of burning carbon fiber in someone's fields. And I'm like, oh, maybe again. I like space travel. I'm a huge nerd, but I also think we need to not leave burning piles of aluminum and carbon in anyone's fields.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to start. Mark Baker, it's been a while since we talked. What's the Soft Lights Foundation up to? What are you guys working on these days?
Well, let's see. Kind of involved in the last couple of days against this company called Live View Technologies, Inc., which makes a video surveillance system that's mobile. They stick these video surveillance systems in parking lots, in shopping centers, and in front of businesses. And I filed a lawsuit that included them for discrimination. In return, they filed a complaint for defamation against me for bad mouthing them. And so that put me in a position of having to defend myself as apparently a public figure, First Amendment rights of what I can say. So I've been working on replying. I was trying to find a lawyer to help me, but I was unsuccessful. So I've had to do it myself. But along the way, I discovered that in California, the California Unruh Civil Rights Act protects everybody from discrimination. And this Live View Technologies product has these blue LED strobe lights, which are active deterrents to try and push somebody away, would-be
I've
shoppers.
seen these. I've been harassed by these.
There you go.
Inside. This product was deployed inside at like a little kiosk at a mall near me, where like they sell lotto tickets and Diet Pepsi, and they've got these running for their security, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't go to that part of the mall no more.
Well, that point is exactly right, because what's occurring then is that all of our civil rights are being violated by arbitrarily discriminating against us. And LiveView has even stuff on their website that says they can pick out what clothes you're wearing and then turn on bright floodlights and loudspeakers to harass you, to make you leave the property based upon your characteristics just of what you're wearing. So in California, there's already extensive case law that prohibits this. And so they've opened themselves up to not just the blue LED lights, but all of the parts of this active deterrent system. So it's both a stressor for me to try and fight this, but it's also important that we do this civil rights stuff.
That's so weird that people would invent a technology that is not activated by a human. Like, it's one thing if there's a guy there and he's like, yeah, those kids are back again. Put on the 80s hairband loud and shine the lights at them for a bit and they're going to go away.
I mean, I think the weapon of choice is still either classical music or the mosquito. I don't know. Are you familiar with the mosquito? I don't think either of you are, actually.
What's a mosquito?
So the mosquito is not really it is a specially designed speaker that plays a sound that plays at about 18 to 20,000 hertz, which I don't know if you know this, but as you age, your ears become less responsive. The little hairs, the cilia that activate your eardrums become less responsive. So as you age, you just lose the upper band of your hearing. So like 18 to 20,000, once you hit 30, you don't have it anymore. So the weapon of choice against teens is just to play this high-pitched noise, literal dog whistle that just gets rid of them.
But Mark, you're saying that this is not a dog whistle. This is real sound that everyone can hear, and real lights that are discriminatory to people that are sensitive to LEDs, and kind of like distasteful overall. It sounds like to me, Mark.
Oh, very distasteful. Yeah, it's not an attractive system either. It's not aesthetically pleasing. But the blue LED lights you can see them for at least a quarter mile, maybe a half a mile away. So they're pulsing and deterring people. And somehow on their marketing, they say it only deters the bad actors, what they call the red shoppers. They don't explain how, like, it's somehow that these people that are would-be criminals. But the thing is, in California, this Unruh Civil Rights Act explicitly in the case law said you're not allowed to just simply discriminate against somebody based upon their potential of being a criminal. It's not allowed. So they're I think it was the 1970s. So one of the cases was this guy, in the 1970s, people were hippies, they wore long hair, they rode motorcycles, and this was counterculture. So a person on a motorcycle with long hair showed up at a shopping center. A security guard, a human, came over and told him to leave. And he said, why? He said, well, I'm just telling you, this is a public place. I'm the security guard. You have to leave. So the lawsuit that ensued after that, the Supreme Court in California determined you cannot. You're a public facility. You can be doing something that's illegal and you can be told to leave. You can be acting against certain rules that they have, but just based upon your hair and the kind of transportation you use, you're not allowed to. So it's called arbitrary discrimination. And that's what this LVT system is doing, is arbitrarily, just randomly excluding people from the business.
Sounds like it needs to be applied on this system that you're talking about. It sounds arbitrary to me, Mark Baker. Scott, when you're in the news and you're looking at these kind of various types of light pollution, that's what I'm going to call them. The various types of light pollution that we see, that Mark Baker's reporting on, and it's like, oh yeah, it's this weird new AI technology that discriminates against people with sound and light if it doesn't like the cut of their jib. Like basically that's what it is, right? If it doesn't like the
Well,
cut of their jib.
on behalf of the long-haired freaky people, I would like to apply.
That's hilarious. So we don't like the cut of your jib, so we're gonna hit you with loud '80s rock music, or we're gonna blast them with Wagner or something, and we're gonna pulse blue lights at you. That's really awful. Like, who would do that? That's such a horrible thing to do to people. I mean, this
Well,
is
I
you
mean,
do it,
one at a
you
time.
make a lot of money.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
they're getting paid by a property manager to tell people not to come to his property. I get it. There are undesirables. Like, let's face it, in the world, there's people that you don't want to come to your party. There's people that we don't want in the mall. They're just troublemakers or whatever. They're not necessarily criminals, but you just wish they weren't there. I mean, I've been there, been in malls. You see them, and they're definitely causing trouble. But we can't exclude everyone, Scott Wachter, especially with, like, we can't be forcing people out of society or something with light pollution. It's such a horrible thing to do.
I mean, we're now getting into the area of what we sort of call like hostile architecture.
Mm.
And normally when we talk about this, we're talking about like, the fact that every park bench has railings on it. Not because you want an armrest, not because anyone needs an armrest, but because that stops you from lying down, right?
Hmm.
And when we talk and lighting, there are hostile lighting fixtures. There are elements of this. We can talk about how there are, again, talking about cracking down on punk teens. There are definitely lighting fixtures that are pink, and they are pink because they make you look bad on Instagram and TikTok, and that's where you install like if you've got teens that are causing trouble, you get these pink hued fixtures, and they like, oh, now it's like an ugly filter, and you have to go somewhere else to do your whatever you're doing, to do your loitering, your social media enabled loitering, I guess. Loitering, a totally made up crime that doesn't matter really, but it's a great excuse to get people out of your space. And obviously, we talk about other hostile interventions, like we talk about really deep blue lights that show up in places because you're trying to deter drug users or the unhoused.
Mm.
Like,
Well, I
and
mean, I think the blue light was put there because they can't see veins, right? I mean, so
yeah,
this goes
that's the
back. Let me go to
that's
Mark
the
here.
bathroom theory. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it works or not. I've heard the theory. Mark, this goes back to this idea as light as a form of information. And what you're reporting, Mark, from Soft Lights Foundation is that this information is that you're not welcome. And other people that live that are citizens of the United States and Canada and that live here are not welcome because of the light. Isn't that really the purpose of the Soft Lights Foundation, is like to end that light-based discrimination?
Yeah, so it's such an interesting topic, this light as a communication method.
Mm.
So there's another aspect that we're working on that is even a bigger deal, I would say, which is the flashing lights on police cars. So about 2 days ago, there was a crash in Southern California, La Mesa, California, where a police officer stopped to help on the freeway. They turned on their flashing lights on the car, and then she got struck and killed. It was
Oh,
about
shit.
10:30 at night. Yeah. And so there's a photo in the Los Angeles Times that show the scene. I don't, maybe it was after, because there had been a previous crash. So she had stopped to try and assist. And then we see three police cars with these high glare, strobing yellow, blue, red lights. The purpose of the light on those cars is to communicate. The purpose is not to illuminate the scene. The purpose is to communicate with the other oncoming drivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or pedestrians or whatever. It's a
Mm-hmm.
communication method. And so there's been a misunderstanding by people who have installed these flashing lights as to what they're trying to accomplish. They talk about, well, we want to be seen, but they're misunderstanding that the purpose of the lights is to communicate. They have different colors, different intensities, flash rates, patterns to communicate something. So we've started writing to them and saying, well, what are you trying to communicate? And it turns out that in the Americans with Disabilities Act, there's a specific section for communication that requires that communication to be just as effective with people with disabilities as with others. Well, so for those of us like me with a disqualified ADA disability, it's too intense. The digital on off is too much. I can't, it's overwhelming. I have to stop my car because I can't see anymore. I can't see, I think, concentrate. And so it's a powerful legal tool for us to try and we're starting to execute this, is to say, hey, your communication method is not effective with me. Maybe other people don't notice, but this person got killed. Maybe that's not a good communication method, what you're doing. So this is something we're exploring now.
When you think about it, the idea that the lights could have caused the death is preposterous to the people that are implementing the lights. It's like they start off from the perspective that what we need is more blinking and flashing and everything else to let everyone know we're here. But Scott, is there anything out there in the news or any studies you've seen on these lights as you've been reviewing all the news on the Darkness News Update? Is there anything about these flashing lights that you've seen that maybe is projecting them or putting them in that there may be the cause of the problem?
What's actually interesting, and this is going to be, I won't have, no one's going to have an answer for about 5 or 6 years, but I will say this is on the radar right now, is that the Light and Health Resource Center of Mount Sinai, friends of the show, I think, have launched a new program that they are talking to tow truck drivers about, and about lighting as they use it and how it affects their safety. So again, this is after the police have maybe cleared out a few cars and turned the blinkers down a bit, but we are talking about people that A, need light to work, and B, need light to signal that they are working. And that data it's a few years out, obviously, but like the fact that that question is now coming to the fore is really important.
That reminds me, Scott, of the findings of the Accreditation Agency Advisory Committee from NAILED, where instead of polling people, we actually went to subject matter experts and asked them, what do you think of this? What are your opinions about this? And sometimes that listening, Mark Baker, when we're listening to people and when we're hearing them, people that need flashing lights on the side of highways, like Scott said, that need lights to do their work, what are they saying about these flashing lights? Are they too bright? Are they too blinky? Is it distracting to them? Would they prefer if it was just a red pulse like a slow red pulse on the side of the road that you would see from a ways away, and you'd say, okay, I got to move over, instead of super bright, and that's what you're complaining about. A nice amber yellow pulse might be enough, Mark Baker, to really tell everybody to move over and go to the other lane or whatever. And I think that's what you're talking about, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, so it's the research that I'm aware of shows that any flashing light is less safe than a single static light. The purpose of the light is to just indicate there's a car there, right? If it's in the daytime, the sunlight is already illuminating. You can use your eyes. Any extra light is actually impairing your vision. So you don't want to even have any light, really. But everybody just has these lights now. They've been installed, millions and millions of them. They flick a switch. Yesterday, I was driving on the freeway and a tow truck had pulled over to assist somebody. It was unbelievable to me how intense this light was. Literally, it's a war. They're increasing every year the intensity of the lights. There's no limit to it. There's no regulation on it. And so, in our experiences, the people out there, and a survey is very important, but the people out there seem to believe what you said, Michael, which is, well, I need this to be seen. I need to be more visible because there's all these hazards. So if you ask them, I think the tow truck operators and the police officers are going to tell you, no, I want to be seen. I want to be safe.
I'm not so sure about that. I think the
The,
tow truck driver piece is super interesting because the tow truck drivers are going to give you the non-corporate response. A lot of tow truck drivers are individual sole proprietors and they have their little turf that they're on and they fight over it. You know what I mean? And this is my turf and the first one to the accident is the tow truck that gets to get the tow. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's the same way in California that it is in Ontario. And so that's a different regulated occupation. And I think, Scott, the fact that they're interviewing the truck drivers is what makes this survey from the Mount Sinai Light and Health Research. I think I got them right. I love those guys, but they don't always love me. But I love what they do. They're actually research, like PNNL. They're actually doing research. You know what I mean? They're actually researching it and putting out, here's what we found, and maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. But I think that the bringing in, not asking the first responders, but asking the tow truck drivers, the guys that don't give a crap. You know what I mean? They kind of remind me of nail distributors a little bit. Ask those guys
Well,
that don't really care that much.
they need to do what they're working. Like they're working, and they don't necessarily have to. They don't have a big organizing body, or if they do, that organizing body is not legit. Allegedly, speaking from experience in Ontario, allegedly, there's a great movie about it out there. But no, like actually asking people who have to do this work, some of it can be very dangerous, saying like, okay, this is what I need to indicate that I'm working, and this is what I need to be able to operate to see, is much more interesting than asking a bunch of police officers or even an EMT what they need to do.
Mm. Hmm. You
they
know,
have also, besides the blinking lights, though, to indicate that they're there, those tow trucks have bright white floodlights that point backwards. So I've
Yeah.
encountered these where, so they turn those on, which is great. That's for them to see, but I can't see. I'm going 60 miles an hour. Those floodlights are right in my eyes. And so creates even a more dangerous situation for everybody.
I think that's a shielding opportunity. Like technically, what I
Yeah,
see,
that's a shielding issue. I think
that's
you
a
like again,
shielding issue.
like the work surface, like that, like you just need to illuminate their work surface,
Yes.
which is the road, right?
Right.
You gotta find somewhere to hitch, and that's pretty low, even with like some
Like that.
of
That's
the
not even a
ginormous struts we
compromise.
have.
That's not even a
Yeah,
compromise. Like if Mark Baker's at the table and he's sitting there talking to them about their backlights and he says, "Look, if you shield them 90% or whatever and you point them at where you're working, are you happy? Yeah, I can see what I want to lift up. Okay, great. Because then we're not getting it blasted, a quarter mile down the road and I can't see and I'm blind." Right? So everybody wins? Yeah, everybody wins. That's not even that's an easy compromise. Consider induction lighting again. TeslaLightingCo.com. I want to switch gears. I know you love the flashing lights on the highway, Mark, but we got to get to other topics. Scott, what's the hottest thing in night pollution, night preservation, darkness restoration right now? What's the hottest topic?
I think I th- the hottest thing, and I'm gonna say it, is that India and China are figuring it out.
Hmm.
It's that just based on where my sources are coming from, the hottest thing I'm seeing is that there is a lot of chatter
Mm.
in India about actually light pollution is really bad for us. And we're obviously seeing India, the urban Indian environment, become denser than it's ever been. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of people living under uh, lighting that is not regulated at all or zoned at all in, say Delhi or Mumbai in any meaningful way. And India is cluing into this. And if we see again 800 hundreds of millions of people calling for this, it's going to carry forward. And at the same time, we're seeing a growing body of knowledge coming out of China. They're very concerned about light at night and how it affects people. They're getting to know the fact that, yeah, guess what? Maybe our work schedule is bad for people. Maybe how we encourage people to study after hours is hurting test scores. This is a recent thing. It's like if you have to study, we tens of thousands of Shanghai teens being asked to study after hours using their computers are not sleeping well, and their standardized test scores are slipping. And China has the tremendous capacity to turn all of their infrastructure on roughly a dime. So if China can say, oh, light pollution is bad for our overall productivity, and just say, Oh yeah, all those ridiculous displays we see in Shanghai on the river, they're gone.
No, that's
Like
not going to
that.
happen. Not in Shanghai.
Oh yeah, no.
Shanghai's like Vegas,
Okay,
right? Like
maybe not
that's
Shanghai, but Chengdu. Chengdu.
okay.
Maybe
Chengdu, yeah. Okay. So Mark, so what's happening over in Asia is that you have a situation where you have much more of an authoritarian government, a government that Westerners probably wouldn't be comfortable with. Let's just face it. Now, I'm not going to go China versus America or anything like that. Like it's two different countries, right? And so, but the point is that they can move quicker. We know that that humans are a diurnal species, right? They sleep at night and they should be awake during the day, right? How can we incorporate the simplicity of that message and that to people that humans should have light during the day and all nocturnal animals don't want light. And humans shouldn't have light at night. They should be asleep. And that doesn't mean we don't want any light on our roads or anything like that. But that has to be the starting place. How do we get that across from the Soft Lights Foundation perspective, not the lighting industry perspective?
Yeah, this is what's so difficult. So that's the benefit of having China with an authoritarian commander. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fix this. Oh, everybody just does that, right? And so I don't know. The United States is turning authoritarian. So if you have, I wrote recently a post related to what we had here in the U.S. called No King's Day. So something like 7 million Americans went out and protested against the change in American governance to an authoritarian regime where perhaps Donald Trump is a king. But I tried to write my
king,
message.
K-I-N-G?
Yeah, like British style king that
He's
we
not
had
a
a
king.
revolution.
Get out of here. You can
250
impeach.
years
You
ago.
can impeach that guy if you want to. You could
He said
impeach
he's
him.
we
not a
tried
king.
twice. We tried twice.
No, but I don't care about Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Barack Obama or anything like that. Listen, you got to, if you're listening to Colligan, what I'm telling you is that I'm a Canadian, okay? I'm not a conservative or a liberal or an NDP. We have different political parties. The actual party's called conservative and liberal. So you guys have Republican and Democrat in the States. In Canada, they're literally called conservative and liberal. So in Canada, it's not as cool to say I'm a conservative or a liberal as it is in the States because it really implies being part of a political party, like literally a part of a political party. Right? So it's not so cool to say that you're a conservative or a liberal in Canada on both sides of that. But this issue, Mark, this has nothing to do with conservative or liberal or Republican or Democrat. It has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Well, so I try to convey this message because of our work regulatory, these bodies that are called the deep state. So we have these agencies that seem to be impervious to which political party is in power, or whether we have a king running the country or whether we have a president. The agencies like the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Energy, the Food and Drug Administration, they're ignoring the light pollution issue, regardless of which party, whether Obama's in charge or Trump is in charge or Biden's in charge. So I tried to relate this No King's Day and the fact that still nothing's being done. How do we get these agencies which seem to believe, like I filed a lawsuit against these agencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
To try and compel them to comply with the 21 USC 360 II that Congress wrote. And the government is fighting me to do that. So if you were in China, you would just who's in charge there? He would just say
Xi Jinping. Yeah, you
like,
that's what's so beautiful about the United States. Like a lot of people, they don't we're Canadians. So the Canadian system is heavily influenced by the United States. So we're very similar. We have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is like the U.S. Constitution, very similar. Freedom of thought starts off with fundamental freedoms, not rights. Fundamental freedoms. It's called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but it's actually the Charter of Freedoms and Rights. Freedoms come first, and it talks about this kind of stuff. But in China, you can't get away with that stuff. You're not going to be able to like in anti-slap laws and fundamental freedoms in Canada, or First Amendment law, constitutional law. You can say whatever you want. So it's beautiful to be an American. But my point, number one, Scott Wachter, is that this has nothing to do with left and right. This has nothing to do with conservative or liberal. It has nothing to do with politics. This is just about good government policy. And Mark Baker is fighting to make the government acknowledge to make good policy.
Yeah, everything's politics though. Like it's all politics. You can say it's not partisan. You can say it's not hackery. You can say it's not big campaign issues. But everything's politics because it's just things between people. That's what politics means.
I don't know about that.
And
I don't know about that. I mean, I think William Butler Yeats said it best when he said, "How can I, that girl standing there, debate Roman, Russian, or Swedish politics," or whatever he said in his poem. You know what I mean? There's times when things are not politics. And I think this is not
don't
politics.
tell me what don't tell me what the poets are doing. To quote
I'm
a
just
completely
telling you,
different poet.
like, there are times when this is not a political issue, and this is not a political issue, Mark Baker. It's not a political issue. This is an issue of freedom, and our species is a diurnal species, Mark. No?
Oh, well, for sure, we're a diurnal species and we don't seem to grasp that. So, how do we convince city council members to understand that just because they can get a rebate for a street light from somebody, and that they shouldn't necessarily just install that street light because they haven't considered the health impacts of that street light? How do we educate at the local level, and also, the Soft Lights Foundation is doing it at the local levels, the state levels, the federal levels. Somebody needs to give, though. We so far haven't gotten anybody to cave in and say, yeah, you're right, let's do it.
Yeah, Nell's getting close to that. Nell's getting close to doing that, and the system works. You have to fight hard, though, and I think that's what a lot of people are not prepared to do. But I think Mark Baker, Scott Wachter, Michael Colligan are pretty prepared. Well, I'll tell you this. We're not prepared to back down. That's for sure. And so if you've enjoyed this and you like what we're talking about, you can make a donation to Soft Lights Foundation. I know Mark Baker would really appreciate it. And I can tell you for sure that he'll put it to good use. He gets up every day and he fights light pollution every single day. He fights it on his own time as a volunteer. I know that because he volunteers to do this show and other things, actually. And then Scott Wachter, he's like a working volunteer. It's half the time he's volunteering, the other half he's working. He loves doing podcasts. He really loves the lighting news and the darkness news, as we call it, or the night pollution news, or the whatever. It's out there, so you can go to get the darkness news update. And if you like this show, you can even donate to the production of the show. Scott's not going to get any more money right yet, but he gets paid. Scott gets paid. Scott Wachter gets paid. Mark and I don't. We're volunteers. But if you want to help us out, we'd appreciate it. I'm not so big on monthly donors and stuff like that, but if you felt like this was worth $20 or $50, $100 or $1,000, whatever you think's worth it, you can go to restoringdarkness.com and click the donate link. And also I'd like you to think about our friends at Tesla lightingco.com. They're a for-profit enterprise. They make induction light fixtures. And if you're an engineer or a specifier or whatever out there, and you have a ski hill or a street or something like that you want to look at, I'm encouraging you to take a look at induction lighting. Go to teslainductionlighting.com and check it out. Thank you for listening.